Some breaking news now. President Trump is making a historic visit to the US Supreme Court. He's attending arguments on whether the US should end its long-standing right to citizenship for anyone born in the country. On his first of his second term, he ordered an end to automatic or birthright citizenship for babies born to parents who are in the country illegally or temporarily. Now, his executive order faced immediate opposition from those who said it went against the Constitution's amendment that grants citizenship to anyone born in US territory. So, a historic moment in terms of the president attending that hearing. Our correspondent Oni Wells is outside the Supreme Court for us. And Ione, protesters there as well. Talk me through what we're expecting today.
There is a big protest gathering. As you might be able to hear, they're currently playing Born in the USA, which is what this is really all about. What we're hearing today is the oral arguments from lawyers on both sides of people essentially trying to set out whether or not it is legal for Trump to end birthright citizenship, something which is ingrained in the US Constitution. He made this in an executive order on his first day as president, and his lawyers are likely to argue that this was something that was put in the Constitution after the Civil War, that it was meant to apply to, for example, children of formerly enslaved people to protect their rights to stay in the United States. But they argue that this wasn't designed for people who are in the US illegally or in the US temporarily. The counter argument from lawyers that we'll expect to hear today is that this is a very fundamental part of the American Constitution, of what it means to be American and people's rights here that have been ingrained for hundreds of years. Also, I think there are concerns, certainly from some of the people queuing that I spoke to get in, about how far this could go back. What is the precedent going to be? Many said that they themselves are first, second, third generation immigrants, and there are concerns about what the scope of a change to birthright citizenship might be and what the implications of that would be for people already in the United States.
Ione, why is the president there? Why has he turned up?
Well, he argues that this is a cornerstone of his immigration policy. He's made this a flagship policy. It's why it was the first thing, or one of the first things that he announced during this presidential term. Now, critics of his, some of whom I've spoken to here outside the court, say that he is here to put pressure on the Supreme Court judges to rule in his favor. So some are very skeptical about why he's decided to take time out to essentially do something pretty unprecedented as a sitting president, to come and hear the oral arguments inside the court itself.
Ione, thank you very much indeed. Well, we can't see what's happening, but we can hear those oral arguments. Let's have a listen in to what's being said inside that building now.
Thank you.
1973 of Justice Story's commentaries was understood to mean domicile. So when they say subject to the jurisdiction, and then they go on to say you're a citizen of the United States and the state in which they reside, the very text of the clause itself presupposes that the citizen is domiciled in the United States. If they're present in a state at all, they reside there. Reside means domicile in the Constitution, and we think that strongly supports our interpretation. It's textual evidence of our domicile-based theory of jurisdiction.
Well, starting with that theory, you obviously put a lot of weight on subject to the jurisdiction thereof. But the examples you give to support that strike me as very quirky. You know, children of ambassadors, children of enemies during a hostile invasion, children on warships. And then you expand it to the whole class of illegal aliens are here in the country. I'm not quite sure how you can get to that big group from such tiny and sort of idiosyncratic examples.
There are those sort of narrow exceptions for ambassador of foreign public ships. Tribal lineage is an enormous one that they were very focused on in the debates as well. But what I do is I invite the court to look at the intervening step, which is the enactment of the Civil Rights Act of 1866. And there they didn't say subject to the jurisdiction thereof. There it says not subject to any foreign power. Now, if you go back to Blackstone and Calvin's case, they say it does not matter if you are subject to any foreign power. If you are born in the king's domains, you have this indefeasible duty of allegiance to the king at any time. So there's a clear repudiation in the Civil Rights Act. The Civil Rights Act is this breakwater which makes it very, very clear that they are not thinking about allegiance in the terms of like the British common law. They've adopted the Republican conception of allegiance. So it's from not subject to any foreign power, and then the debates just a couple months later make it very clear that they're recodifying the same conception. They were dissatisfied with the potential ambiguity ambiguity in the phrase Indians not taxed, and they adopted subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And one of the strongest statements
we've got Chief Justice John Roberts making the argument. I'm just reading that President Donald Trump is actually sitting in the first row of the public section of the courtroom at the Supreme Court. If there's anything more imposing than the sitting president sitting right in front of you as you're making a counter argument to him, it would be then, wouldn't it? So we haven't got pictures, but those are a little bit, or giving you a bit of a flavour of what's happening inside the Supreme Court. History being made as Donald Trump appears during those oral arguments over the US birthright citizenship case.